Bilson, thanks very much. Yeah, I better record this. We're going to get this recorded for everyone. So, and it's a good thing I didn't throw anyone under the bus this early on. Tonight's topic is on objections and how to handle objections, how to see them coming, get them out of the way before they even come up. So anticipating and getting it done. And I have to say, I have been looking forward to this topic coming around because I used to, when I was in network marketing, affiliate marketing, multi-level marketing, call it what you will. I was very successful, but I think this is probably the one thing that put me over the top with my success. And that was handling objections. And I used to teach classes to, 50, 60 people at a time. And we'd go 4 hours on just objections. So tonight I'm going to crash course this in 20 to 30 minutes, and I'm going to give you a download. And I think I might actually have Rachel put this on the back end in our document section when we're done, because I think it's just imperative. And it doesn't matter what line of work you're in, intrapreneur, entrepreneur, objections are always there. And so being able to get comfortable with that, I think is the most critical thing you can do to be successful. And it's fun. I guess that's the other part of it. If you get the right mindset, and that's point number one with all of this is mindset, right? You've got to get your mindset right when it comes to objections. Look forward to them. Don't dread them. All right. And I look at the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate as an entrepreneur farm, right? We are raising up. We're offering fertilizer and pesticide for this crop of entrepreneurs. So think of yourself as those young sprouts jumping up, and things are going to happen. Things are going to be coming your way. So let's deal with it head on. So first thing is we've got to have the right environment for all these things to grow, and that is the mental attitude. So your mind is crucial, critical, and how you view objections. And as I just said, you need to look at objections not as obstacles, but as opportunities. Always a learning opportunity, and have fun with it. And this is the irony of how the first text message went out today. Is one of my top points is objections are not rejections. Just because you get an objection to something, that is not a rejection of you as a person or your product. It can be several different things, but it is not a personal rejection of you or what you're selling. If you're selling anything, a service, product, an idea, it is never to be looked at as a rejection. This is part of that whole mindset. Objections will actually help you add value to your business plan, to your psyche, to your personal values, to your confidence. So objections are there to build you up. They are a solution. They will guide you to solutions that you may not have seen otherwise. You may find that objections can help you fine-tune your business, fine-tune your product, fine-tune your business practices. So look at all objections as fertile ground for your growth. Mindset is everything here. And this is the one thing, and especially with multi-level marketing, the worst thing that can happen, this is the best advice I ever got from professional network marketers. The worst thing that can happen is that you must endure the loss of social esteem by ignorant people. If you think about it that way, if you walk into a situation and somebody thinks less of you because of what you do, how you say things, what you're offering, if you put it in that personal context, if you are confident enough and go in with the right mindset, you're just enduring the loss of social esteem from an ignorant person. Now, how easy is that to put behind you, right? That's not baggage to carry. That's something to just cast off. You don't carry that kind of baggage, all right? So number one with objections is the mindset. Look at them as opportunities, not as obstacles. Number two, you have to have unwavering belief in your product or service. absolutely fundamental, and that goes right in with it, dovetails with the mindset. But you will overcome fear, worry, self-doubt, self-worth, confusion, challenges. All of that goes away when you are a complete believer in what you have to offer, the solution to the problems that are out there and what you're doing. This is what it's going to take. You're going to be able to overcome all of that stuff. And remember, you are there to solve someone else's problem. You're not there for yourself. You're not there to get, you're not there to sell. And yes, you are, right? But your focus isn't about you. Your focus is about other people. And you just have to always remember that. You're not there to close a sale for yourself. You're there to close a sale, close a deal for the other person. So make sure that when you walk into those situations, when you have an appointment and you're setting that appointment, before you walk into that appointment, remind yourself why you're there and who you are there for. All right. That's the first. Getting that table set is going to be the first thing that's going to make it much easier when something comes up. And going along with that, and this is part of where Rachel comes in with all the marketing and branding. You need to brand yourself as the authority. Everything you do is branding yourself as the authority on your product or your service. You don't need, if someone wants questions answered, they want more information. You should be the final source of that information. And I think the best compliment I ever had was from my wife when she, this is when I was in network marketing, and somebody said, well, what kind of support is there? You know, do people come in and train and teach and do all these things? You know, do we have someone that can do that? And my wife said, my husband is that man. I am the one who was on a plane flying out and teaching 4, 5, 6, 700 people all at once. I was that person. Brand yourself as that authority. Even if you're not to that level yet, you should have the answers that people need. You should know your business well enough that, and your product, your service, you should know everything about it, that you are the ultimate authority. It's always nice to rely on experts and rely on data and rely on testimonials, but ultimately you are the expert. So always consider branding yourself as that authority. And next, use your gifts unapologetically. When you're out there and you talk about a confidence booster, if you are that authority and you have branded yourself that way and you have that belief in your product and that belief in yourself, you have nothing to apologize for. You are never wasting someone's time. You are offering opportunity. You are offering salvation to people. And you just have to remember that. So never feel like, oh, well, I'm sorry to take your time. I'm sorry we've gone extra long. I'm sorry this went 5 minutes over because you had all these questions. Never, ever apologize for what you're doing. Your passion should take care of all that. So use your gifts unapologetically. That's best advice number 2. Okay, we're going to dive into this. Reframe objections. This is point number 3. So 1 was reset your mind. Number 2, unwavering belief in your product or service. 3 is reframe objections. And the way you're going to do that first is ask questions. You need to drill down. And this is where it gets to be fun. This is where you get to play cat and mouse with, I hate to say prospect, with a potential client, with anyone. If you're practicing, you know, a sales pitch or a presentation with people, then this is where it gets to be fun. This is where you get to practice your people skills and your listening skills and your think on your feet skills. So your whole point when someone's coming to you and they start asking questions, right? And objections usually come, they're usually going to be statements. We're going to cover that, but you need to rephrase, reframe, and ask questions that make people feel heard, honored, and understood, and that you sincerely care about them. That is your goal. You're not there to be pretentious. You're not there to be holier than thou, mightier than thou, more knowledgeable than thou. You're there to present and educate. So reframe objections into questions. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. Remember, this isn't an opportunity to win, right? You're not there to win a sale or to win a client or win an account. You are there to build a strong relationship with somebody. That's your goal. And the best way to do that is to listen and interact and understand what their true needs are. And if your product or service doesn't really meet their needs, then be honest and sincere about that and say, you know what, I don't think this is a good fit. And that's a great pivot point. But do you know somebody who could use this? Always, always. And we're going to get into some of that too. So pivoting out of those situations and pivoting further into those situations is one of those life skills that is going to set you up for future success. So you're building a symbiotic relationship. You want people to feel comfortable asking you questions, feel comfortable coming to you as the brand ambassador, as the expert in those things. So just get comfortable with that. And while you're reframing those, you're going to find sometimes there are real objections. And by reframing things as questions and drilling down deeper, you are going to find out what those real objections are. And we've all heard, and if you haven't heard, this will be your first time, but you will hear it again throughout your careers, the feel, felt, found, the 3 F's of objections. When you hear them, you're saying, well, I feel what you're saying. And I felt the same way when I first looked at this. And this is what I found. After doing research, I was skeptical too. So I understand that feeling, that hesitation, but I understand and I found that when you're on the other side of that, there's a benefit. This is where it is. Feel, felt, found. It helps guide your conversations with prospects, especially that are searching, because not all of them are. We're going to get into number 4, reflex objections. Most people, when you go to present something, there is going to be a reflex objection. We are conditioned as people in this culture to automatically say no. We just are. So when you understand that, people are going to first say no just because it's an auto response. 9 times out of 10, probably the Pareto principle is probably 80 times out of 100, right? 8 out of 10 times, someone is just going to give you a reflex objection. And it's just an excuse to not make a decision. That's all a reflex objection is. It's just an excuse to either not make a decision or to buy time until they can think and formulate a real response. So a conversation is going to give them that time. It will break that seal, that objection seal of no, I don't think so, into something that you can work with. So in sales presentations, there are words you want to avoid because there are words that will actually trigger a reflex objection. And I don't want, you can list these if you want. I'll have Rachel put this on the back end if you think you need it, but things like price, use investment or cost. Sounds more professional. Price is a negative connotation. Contract, bad word. Agreement or paperwork. I used to use paperwork all the time. If someone was ready to go, I said, well, I'm going to get the paperwork ready. Because ultimately you want to ink. You need to sign somebody up for something. And that is an agreement or paperwork, but never use it as a contract. That's just bad use of the word. And instead of sign here, it's authorize or approve. Deal. This will be the deal. It's not a deal. It's an opportunity or a proposal. So some of those bad words, price, contract, sign, deal, buy. You don't even want to use the word buy. It's own or acquire. They're more neutral. It softens things up. Sell's a terrible word, right? Nobody wants to be sold. Sell seems to be a terrible word, but here's some alternatives. Provide or offer. We're not selling this to you. We're offering this to you. We're providing this service to you. Yeah, there's got to be consideration. Yeah, for a fee, for an exchange of goods. There will have to be an exchange going on. But It's just different than selling. Never use cheap. I think we've all learned that. It's affordable or cost effective. Discount. Grant Cardone, I'm a fan of Grant Cardone, and Grant Cardone, although he's always running a sale on some of his stuff, one of the things he always preaches is don't discount it. Don't cheap sell your stuff, right? Don't discount. So you can have savings or special offers, but that's different than a discount. So think about that just a little bit. If you're discounting something, you're devaluing it. But if you're offering somebody savings, it just changes it a little bit. Someone can get savings or a special offer. That's different than a discount. This is something special for them. Monthly payment's another bad word. Use monthly investment or a monthly plan, if something's on a repetitive order cycle. Obligation. Boy, that sounds heavy, doesn't it? Sounds like marriage or something, or you're obligating to a mortgage. But a commitment or a responsibility is something that's softer. Problem is another word to avoid. Problems are not problems, they're challenges or issues. So even if you've acquired a client and they call you up and say, hey, we've got a problem, say, well, what's the issue? Reframe it right out of the gate. You don't have to use that word again. Always the power pivot. Yes, thank you very much, Taylor Claridge. Power of the pivot. Change, that's another word. People just don't like any kind of change. Do you want to change your phone carrier? You see a AT&T, you want to change to Sprint? No. Would you like to get to an improved or an enhanced plan that offers savings? It's different. Change is just a cringe word. Instead of the word try, it's another one. I don't want you, let's just try it for a while. No. Would you like to experience this? Let's explore this opportunity together. Instead of try. Try is just, it's short and hard, but experience and explore leaves it open. Hope. You wouldn't think that's a bad word, but hope is too soft. What we do as professionals is we expect. We hope you're going to be happy with this. No, we expect you're going to be happy with this. We plan on you being happy with this product or service. We're not going to hope that they're happy. Okay? And that gets to this one, think. I don't use the word think. Well, I think this is going to work for you. No, I believe this is going to work for you. You see that? The difference between the two of those? We can think or we can believe. And competitor. Well, my competitor or your competitor, the competitor makes it sound negative. There's something, two things going head to head, but it's an alternative or other options. Don't get into the personal stuff. So those are just some of the key words to avoid. And again, that's going to help get away from triggering reflex objections. I'm not going to eliminate it altogether, but it will help if you're using that kind of language. All right? Why set yourself up for failure? So use positive language, and that's going to be the first start. So we're going to cover reflex objections. And I actually went through my old my old notes. I know you can't see all this. This is from the early 90s. This was my typewritten thing from, and I even had on the back side of this a little flyer that came from the Attorney General of the state of North Dakota explaining the difference between pyramids and network marketing companies. The best explanation I'd ever seen. It was legal. It came from a valid source. But in all of my time in network marketing, I only found 8 objections. Everything always fell into just 8. And so I lumped them together, and 1 and 2 were related, 3 and 4 were related, 5 and 6 were related, and 7 and 8 were related. I broke it down. Man, I studied my business. I studied what I was hearing from people, and I figured it out, and I built around it, and then I trained and I taught how to overcome those 8 objections. And that was in network marketing. So I'm not going to tailor this to network marketing, although it's all relevant, but I'm going to go through a whole bunch of reflex objections, just so you can see if you've heard these before. Actually, let's not do that. Let's see how many of you have used these on somebody before. Because we do this, right? Even as entrepreneurs, when we are out, we are using reflex objections. So I've got my top 10 here. Again, I went from 8 in just network marketing, and I'm going to top 10, which should cover just about all kinds of products and services. All right. Common examples of reflex objections. I'm not interested. I don't have time. It's too expensive. I need to think about it. I need to talk to my partner, my wife, my husband, my boss, my colleagues. Send me more information. We're happy with our current provider. Now's not a good time. We don't have the budget for this. Just send me an email. And my favorite, do you have a card? So those are my top 11. Now, really, how many of you that I can see here have used one of those? Yeah, more than once. So think about it. We do this. We're conditioned. This is part of our culture, is to object and put up a defensive barrier. Why would somebody else that you're presenting your product or service to be any different than you? They're not. They're exactly the same. So once you understand that, you get into that, well, I feel what you're saying. I felt the same way, and this is what I found. I understand that you object to this, but let's, if you're not interested, well, really, what part aren't you interested in? How it can make you healthier? How you can make more money? How this can be a benefit to your company? What part actually aren't you interested in? I'm just curious, help me out for, for the sake of my next presentation. Maybe I did something wrong. If you don't have time, who doesn't have time to better their lives? Seriously, who doesn't have time to better their lives or the lives of their loved ones? Those are just bogus excuses. Nobody is going to say, I don't have time to make my life better. It's too expensive. Well, that gets into the value proposition. There has to be a trade-off. You need to think about it. And that's a valid objection, right? I need to think about it. But your job as an entrepreneur, as a professional, is to say, I understand. Which part do you need to think about? You need to hone in. Is it the money? When I was in auto sales, I would say, is it me, the money, or the machine? Is it something that you just don't like me? Is the price wrong here because we tried to pre-qualify you here? Or is it the wrong car? Is it the wrong truck? Is it the wrong home? What is it? You need to get to the bottom of it. Which part do you need to think about? That gets right into the send me more information too. Well, on what part? On what exactly do you need information on? The pricing? How long it's going to take? Do you need testimonials? You need to dial in. You can't just say, oh, okay, I understand, and walk away. You have to get to the heart of that objection. You've got to drill down. And the other thing, I need to talk to my partner, my boss, colleagues, whatever that happens to look like. So you should preempt that before you even get into a sales or a negotiation conversation. That should never come up as a professional. You should know who the decision makers are before you set an appointment. And before you set that appointment, or when you get to that appointment, you should be able to say, are all the decision makers here? Or do we need to, reschedule and get all the players on board? Even if someone was coming up to buy a car, it's like, well, is it for yourself? Are all the interested parties here? If you're going to buy a car for your kid, is he going to have something to say about it? Because maybe we should get him here, right? Whatever it is, it's your job to make sure you get all the people that are essential to accomplishing your goal there at the same time. It's going to save you time. It's going to save them time. And believe me, I violated this rule all the time. And to my credit, if you do it well enough, it's you can do a presentation over and over and over, and you can do the same presentation to the different people. But as an interest of saving time for everybody, get all the major players there if you can at one time. And that way you can answer all the questions, all the objections at one time and move on. And that way you're going to know if you can close that deal, close that sale, or if you have to reschedule. So if it's not in the budget, I totally understand budgets, especially when I was doing advertising and marketing budgets. I literally budgeted out, and then someone would come up with some other program and come up, and I'd literally say, I don't have the budget for that this year, but I can put you on next quarter. I can work things around, but there are times budget is a valid objection, but how do you work with that objection? You need to look at it from their point of view too. And work with it. It's not all about closing things right away. So, and then just send me your email or give me your card. That's just like a kiss off, honestly. That's the easiest. It's the like, show me the door, right? And if that's the case, I never gave that many cards out. I would just say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm out right now. If you're interested, call me. Call the store, call the company, whatever. Or better yet, here, give me your number. And I'll follow up with you. But a card was just an excuse to walk. So again, every situation's a little bit different. Having professional materials and flyers, I carry cards now. I still do. As a professional, you should, but use them with some discretion. Or I've got to run to the car, and get that. I'm sorry, or get it in my briefcase. Find a way to make this something you're in control of, and not just take it at face value. So again, objections, especially reflex objections, are designed to end a conversation quickly. That's really what they're designed to do. Your job as a professional is to not end it quickly, right? An objection is a launch pad into a relationship. So detailed discussions with that stuff. So here we go. Point number 5, true objections. My note on this is know when to walk away. Don't beat a dead horse. In fact, if the horse is dead, my recommendation is to take the saddle off and go find a new horse, right? So know when to walk away. You do your investigation, and there's a difference here, and especially in affiliate marketing, but in other businesses as well. There's a difference between a skeptic and a cynic. A skeptic can be educated, and a cynic is just caustic. He's going to be caustic to you, to your values, to your company, to your time. So if it's a cynic, don't walk away, run. If it's a skeptic, it's your job to educate. Inform, educate, and close. Close the sale. And the next, this is the big word, next. When you run into a cynic, or when someone has a valid objection, they're just not the right time, not the right budget, you're not talking to the right person, your biggest word is next. Okay, great, next. Cross that person off your list and move on. I say that, move on, but always follow up. You don't abandon, you move on. There's a difference. Moving on is not abandonment. Okay? So objections give you the rest of the future. When you can say next, you've now closed that door, and it opens you up to go move on. Right? It's all about you setting yourself up for the next encounter. So that is the biggest thing. Now I added number 6 here because this is the most important. When you do get valid objections, ask for a referral. Always. Just get in the habit, no matter what you're selling, no matter what your service, product, I don't care what it is, ask for referrals. Once you've shown what you have, if you've made a presentation, what you need to do, always, is say, who did you first think about when you saw this? Everybody does. Did you think about Aunt Lucy? Did you think about your business partner? Did you think about your competitor? Who did you think about when I showed this to you? Who did you think about? And you're going to end up with a whole new list of people to prospect from, a whole new list of people. If you've got, like I know Chris was on here, if you've got, a Rolex watch, but that one's not for you, but you were thinking about somebody. You could see that on somebody's wrist. Who was that person? Who was that company that you thought of that this might be a great fit for? And that's who you go to. And you thank them for that. And then you go to that person right away and you'll say, I just came from so-and-so, and they said, I needed to talk to you. I needed to share this with you. And then when you close that person, you go back to the other person that referred them and you say, I want to thank you for that. And this is working out great for them. And then you sign them up, because nobody wants to be left out and left behind. It's amazing. It's amazing when you walk away, get that referral, close the referral, and use that as the open door to go back to that closed sale, closed opportunity, and reopen it. It is phenomenal, and it will work over and over and over. And I should have done this class long ago, because I've been on consulting and coaching calls with several people, and I thought, man, it comes down to objections so often. And if we just start thinking differently, if we open our minds up to these different avenues, different approaches, it will open things up. And number 7, the final key here, the magic is in the follow-up. Always, always, always follow up. Nothing's ever dead unless they die, right? Till they buy or die. That's the rule. They don't come off of your list as a prospect or someone to talk to until they buy what you're selling, or you've improved what you've got so that it matches their needs, or they die, or the business closes. Always follow up. That doesn't mean you're selling them over and over. It doesn't mean you're going to do a presentation over and over, but you're not going to forget them. You're going to send them a thank you card. You're going to see them at some function down the road and remind them who you are and what you have and what you're doing. And I can't tell you how many times, even in network marketing, how many times I would see somebody 2-3 years later that I had actually done a whole business presentation to them, their spouse, other people, and they said no, and I moved on. And I wasn't real good at follow-up back then because I was so busy just moving forward. But they would say, are you still doing that thing? I'd say, as a matter of fact, yes, and I'm still cashing the checks. Thank you. By the way, what are you doing? Are you still doing your thing that you complained about forever? It's just amazing. The follow-up is key. So objections. That's it with objections. I know that you've all had them. I know that you've all used them. Now it's time to think about it, embrace it, and say, what can you do different with your business with this information? What little tweaks can you do? And maybe you know all this already. Maybe this is just the reminder. But I am here to tell you, when you master these, when you get good at it and see it, number one, you preempt the objection to begin with. But then when they do come up, to be able to pivot and move, it's going to make your life and your job and your business so much easier and so much more successful. You will remember this conversation and say, thanks, Rod. That's my hope. And I just used hope. That's my belief. All right. I'm opening it up. Questions, not just about this topic, but if you've got a story, I would love to hear it. That's for sure. What do we have?
I can give some feedback.
I've got Heidi. Yes, you're unmuted. You are ready to go.
Oh, I absolutely love this. Thank you so much. This was fantastic. And it just seems like it's perfect for where I'm at, like that branding yourself as an authority. Like it's just been this, like, I've worked very hard to be who I am and to have this level of professionalism in my area, like highly educated, highly professional. And then I've been listening to like some of my clients and they're like, well, I was listening to this YouTube, or I was talking to this person at the gym, or I was talking to someone at my family. And I'm like jaw dropping. I'm like, you've hired a professional. You're hired like someone that has like a PhD
Right.
in this. and behavior change and then health and well-being. And I'm really like, wow, it had to get hard. I had to see it, but like branding yourself the authority was huge. And then I love what you talked about with using your gifts unapologetically and like that part of salvation. So that was really good. And I look forward, I wrote down most of the things, but you probably know this off the cuff. When you said no to sign, what was the positive to signing? Like,
Oh,
I missed that
oh,
one.
authorize or approve.
Okay. And then what about when you said don't say deal, say something else?
Opportunity or proposal.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Anything that helps.
Okay.
And you are that professional. You know, we all need that reminder.
Yeah.
And Jim, I know that you've even done career changes, but all of your past experiences make you a professional in the place you are. You know, it's incredible when you rely on all of that. And it's, yeah, you might be doing a new thing today, right? Or maybe it's just a month that you've been doing something, but because of all of your other experience and all of that, you are the professional in that now. And I know how you dive into stuff too. So you're always making yourself that professional, you know, branding yourself as the expert in the field. And don't forget that your story, how you got to where you are in your business, why you're doing what you're doing today, that story needs to be brought with you to all of these encounters, because that's that authenticity factor. That's when you say, I feel you, you know, I felt the same way, I found it. If they can hang all of that on a story, your story, what brought you to that, what brought you to that product, what brought you to the service you're now offering. You know, Taylor, you know, we've had this conversation before. Your story, I think, needs to be told more and more all the time. And it makes a difference. That's that authenticity factor. So figure a way to get your story in when you're doing a presentation for your product or your service. Always start with your story. What led you to do this? And you can get that you can do it in a minute. You can literally get your story in there in a minute. You know, this was my life. This is what I was looking for. This is what I found. And this is what I'm sharing with you. So some stories are more complicated. You should be able to take your story, and we've talked about this before when I encouraged you all to start looking at public speaking. You should be able to take your 2-minute elevator pitch, and you could turn that into a 15-minute story or a keynote speech. It's the same story, and you know that story better than anyone. So how can you encapsulate that before you do a presentation? It will help with overcoming objections. Thanks for sharing, Heidi. I really appreciate that. Thanks. Anybody else? Stories? Questions? You want to do what I used to do is we would role play. Those were the fun ones. And if you want to do that sometime, call me up on the phone or call Jim on the phone. Call Rachel on the phone. You want to role play some objections, say, man, I've done 3 calls and I'm getting nowhere. Let's play with it a little bit. It will make you better. It will give you some different ideas, some different approaches, maybe just different wording, but it will get you comfortable. It will help you become that branded expert in your field. So don't ever, you know, just think you're all alone out there and that you've got to figure it out by yourself. You don't. All right. I'm not seeing anything else. Chat one more time. Taylor says, love it. Thank you. You are welcome. All right. Is this something you think we should put on the back end document section? Getting a yes? Yes.
I think so.
I will send it out to Rachel, and we'll get that branded and put on the back end as well then. All right. Well, I'm not going to keep you guys. Oh, one last thing. Next Monday night is Memorial Day. What we typically do is we take the Monday holiday off, but we meet on Tuesday. So I'll confirm with Jim. I don't know who's on the schedule. I'll have to look, Jim or Rachel, but we will be meeting on Tuesday night at 6 Mountain Time as opposed to Monday night. And enjoy your Memorial weekend. All right, everybody.
Thanks
Thanks
all.
very
Have a
much.
great
Have a
week.
great evening.
Thanks, Rod.
You bet.